Narendra Modi came to power in 2014 promising jobs and development. We all know that. Ordinary Indians, Indian industrialists, foreign investors, everyone hoped he could transform India. 3 years later, the story is obviously very complicated. India was until recently the fastest growing major economy. There have been reforms, and from the bankruptcy code to GST. But there's a broad consensus among economists that demonetisation and the rollout of the nationwide tax helped drag down economic growth from about 7.9% last year around this time to 5.7% recently, which was the slowest pace of economic expansion since Modi took office in 2014. A lot of people suggest that's going to pick up, so it's not totally grim, but we're likely to see slower growth for the next year. And so as Modi gears up for elections in Gujarat and also Himachal Pradesh, and also ahead of the 2019 elections, we thought we would get Prashant with his new book out, and Shivam, to provide a little bit of context for our members on how they feel things are going to go, even if we're not making solid predictions. We could just say Gujarat, BJP, 2019 BJP, and sort of be done with it. But I think it's a lot more interesting that there's a lot of different dynamics, and hopefully we'll get into some of those tonight. So maybe if we can just start off, I'd like to ask Prashant, you just wrote this excellent new book, and I'm wondering if you can just explain to people maybe who haven't read the book in its entirety, why you think the BJP has been so successful since 2014, and if you think what's happening with the economy will have any impact on the electoral success that you've written so eloquently about.
I've been covering elections in India for the last few years. I covered the 14 elections, spent some time in Bihar, but UP was an immersive experience, was on the ground for months, and that made me approach this project and approach this question. I think there are 4 or 5 strands to the BJP's success, and we can identify that separately. The first is, of course, the Prime Minister's image. You mentioned that in 2014 he won because he promised jobs and development. I think the Prime Minister has consciously reinvented himself over the past decade and a half. If he started out as a Hindu Hriday Samrat, a Hindu leader between 2002 and 2007, a strong Hindu leader, he became a development man post 2007 to 2014, while retaining that image of a Hindu leader as well. And it was on the basis of these twin images that the 2014 verdict happened. What we have seen over the past 2 years is a third underappreciated image reinvention of the Prime Minister, where he has also become a messiah of the poor, a Garibo ka Neta, that's the word in Hindi. And if you look at his speeches, there is a lot of emphasis now on rural India, on poor Indians, and on agriculture, for instance, right, on poor farmers. Now, that is a conscious image reinvention that happened because in 2015 they lost Delhi, they lost Bihar, and there was a perception that the government and the BJP would be again seen as a party of the well-to-do, as a party of urban India, as a party of the section of the upper middle class and corporates. And that was an image trap they wanted to get out of. Through the narrative on demonetization and through sharper welfare delivery, I think the Prime Minister was able to carve out a multi-class appeal and a multi-class alliance on the basis of this third image reinvention. Right. The second strand to their success is Amit Shah's organizational work. BJP today is the most formidable election apparatus, has the most formidable election apparatus that any national party has had in India at any point. Because Congress is a mass-based party. Congress has never relied so much on organizational power. You have had regional variants, say the left in West Bengal, certain Dravidian parties in Tamil Nadu, who have had strong organizations. BJP today at the national level is a formidable machine, and this has many components to it. Quantitative expansion of the membership base, where the BJP claims it's the world's largest party, larger than the Chinese Communist Party, to qualitative change in the relationship between the party high command and the party grassroots. A lot of focus on booth level management and activating booth committees, frequent mass contact, propaganda, blitzkrieg, resource mobilization on an unprecedented scale, which is then used to strengthen the party again. So that, I think, that's the second component, Amit Shah's organizational skills. The third is that while BJP used to be primarily an upper caste party, today one could argue that BJP is a somewhat more inclusive Hindu party. It remains a Hindu party, but it has made a conscious attempt to attract the subaltern within the Hindu fold. Specific OBC subcaste, backward subcaste, specific Dalit subcaste who may not have enjoyed some of the political benefits and opportunities that have come through democratization to some within their community. And BJP has been able to carve out again this multi-caste coalition along with the multi-class coalition. Then you have the role of the RSS and the organizational support that the Sangh is able to provide. And today we see a pretty high degree of convergence between the Sangh, which is the ideological parent of the BJP, as we know, a source of their worldview, a source of their personnel, and the BJP government. And this works on the ground because then Sangh is able to deploy its network of pracharaks, the full-time volunteers, as well as its network of sympathizers to build opinion for the BJP and to mobilize voters on the ground on the final day, on the polling day, right? And finally, of course, you have this strong element of communal polarization. BJP is a party that stokes hatred on the ground. BJP is a party that uses deception, that uses lies, that uses propaganda to make the Hindu voter angry, to make the Hindu voter bitter, to make the Hindu voter resentful of the Muslims, to make the Hindu voter resentful of all other parties and portray them as sympathetic to only Muslim interests. And through this, they are able to construct a majority vote. The reason they succeed is because secularism is dead. There is no resonance of secularism on the ground anymore. And you do not hear Hindu voters, even voters of non-BJP parties, think about secularism as a primary determinant of their voting choice. So I think these are the key components of BJP's success in the Hindi heartland, particularly in northwest and central India. We also see them adopt other tools, other techniques, co-option of existing political elites, diluting their ideological core, adapting to specific realities as they expand beyond the heartland in places like northeast India. Will this last? I am not suggesting that they are invincible. I do think that the slowdown in growth has affected them. Whether it will have electoral consequences will have to be seen, but I think it does make them vulnerable. It makes them vulnerable because if you go back to my first point, Modi's multi-class alliance rests on growth, it rests on jobs, and it rests on welfare. To cater to different elements of that multi-class base, right? So, and if the government is not able to deliver on even one of these three, then they are suddenly going to see challenges. And we have seen this the drop or the slip in the narrative from the perspective of the government over the past few months. It is because of the GDP data, of the demonetization consequences, economically adverse consequences of demonetization, which are now coming home to roost, the unhappiness over GST. So I think it's too early to suggest that this is the end of the road for the BJP and the BJP's moment of dominance is over. I think BJP remains India's hegemonic party. It is in power in 18 states. But this is not an invincible machine, and the economic, we can have a longer discussion on it, and the economic narrative will hurt the party.
When Yashwant Sinhas came out with his sort of fiery op-ed in the Indian Express, it gave maybe some credence to some of the things that had been coming mainly from usual suspects over the past little bit. Do you think that it's significant that this type of criticism is coming from people who would be considered within the fold of the party? And do you think that is do you think that's a significant moment given the sort of sheer popularity that Modi has enjoyed over the past 3 years?
Ordinarily, I think criticism from Yashwant Sinhas and Arun Shourie should make no impact, because it is well known that they are disgruntled people in the BJP, no matter how respected they are or they were. But fact is, they are speaking what they are saying because they didn't get a share of power. Which begs the question, why did Yashwant Sinhas' piece make such an impact? It did so because the Congress party has not been able to make, or the opposition in general, has not been able to make any impact in its criticism of the government, and the Indian media has largely become a mouthpiece of the government. In such a scenario, it is the veterans of the BJP who are getting attention because, and also partly, unlike the Congress, they know how to use words, they know how to write an op-ed that makes an impact. They know how to use the media. They know how to give interviews, which Rahul Gandhi shies away from. I think one very big point that Prashant missed in how BJP wins is the Congress. The BJP is winning. The BJP looks very big. I mean, I buy everything he says about, caste, Hindutva, economy, party organization, and so on. But when the BJP meets a strong challenger, as it happens regionally, Nitish and Lalu come in together in Bihar, or Arvind Kejriwal in Delhi, both in 2015, we saw that the BJP is not invincible. But the BJP looks almost invincible, regardless of what goes wrong or right, when its opponent is the Congress party. And that is also what makes people like Yashwant Sinha shine. In fact, I mean, while the last few days and weeks, Rahul Gandhi is looking better, but actually there's such a vacuum of opposition that anybody, including people in this room, can make a lot of impact in criticizing the government.